There was a time at the arcade when gameplay and creativity were more important than graphics. When a game needed to be fun and addictive to compel you to shell out quarter after quarter. In those years, you might have found yourself spitting bubbles and eating fruit while walking down a cave to rescue your girl that was kidnapped by a fat drunk guy. And you were a cute dragon. My name is Kradion, and this is Press Play on Tape. Bobble, developed and published by legendary Taito in 1986. And if you don't know anything about it, then you must be, well, young, or uninterested in video game, in which case kudos to you for stepping out of your comfort zone and clicking on my video. I appreciate that. This little gem of a game was hugely influential in the arcade world of the late 80s, and it was the very first game I recall playing. I still remember my awe when my father brought home a Commodore 64 and a disc with Bobble on it. I was 5, and that day I started a journey I enjoy to this day. But let's get back to the game. The plot of Bobble is pretty straightforward. Evil Baron von Blubba. Von Blubba? Is he Swedish? Sounds Swedish to me. Anyway, Baron von Blubba has kidnapped your girlfriend, and to prevent you from fighting back, he turned you and your brother into bubble dragons. Which, in hindsight, was not a smart move, considering that bubbles are the only thing that can kill all the minions you will encounter along the way. Why do bad guys always have poorly thought out plans? It is up to you and your brother, Bob and Bob, to jump headfirst into the Cave of Monsters and start a journey through 100 colorful levels. Bob and Bob. I wonder what they stand for. Robert and... Rupert? Boblin and Boblin. What? Each level is made of a single-screen labyrinth filled with the cutest monsters that will ever eat your flesh. And in pure arcade style, you will lose a life on first contact, so remember to keep your distance. So, how do you get out of your predicament? Well, you hop around the platforms and blow colored bubbles in which you can trap enemies. Then, you can pop those bubbles to get rid of the monsters and turn them into yummy fruits, and pies, and cakes, and huge cakes. And I hope this green lizard is somehow immune to diabetes, considering the amount of sugar he ingests. Levels are progressively more difficult as you make your way down the cave, with new enemies being introduced every so often. And all enemies have their own funny and colorful designs, movement patterns, attacks, and... wait, names? Those things have names? Apparently yes, as the official Bubble wiki so eloquently says. These things are Monsta. This guy is a Zenchan. This ghost is a Maita, also known as Boris for some reason. Man, I wish I knew all this when I was a kid. It's so much easier to call these things Pulpul instead of those fat flying kids with short limbs and a propeller beanie hat. And most people will be familiar with the original arcade version of this game. After all, you could argue it's the most full-featured and probably the most nostalgic for the aficionados of the arcade. However, as it is expected with a title this popular, Bobble was translated and ported to a huge number of platforms and systems. There is of course the Commodore 64 version, which I think features the best music of all ports, and to which I am nostalgically drawn to. But you don't need to dig much before you find a version for the ZX Spectrum, which should honestly get a participation trophy for trying. Don't get me wrong, knowing the limitations of the hardware, I think this port is quite amazing. But that ear-raping jump sound is unnecessary and way too annoying to be bearable for 100 levels. The Amiga version, on the contrary, is colorful and very close to the original arcade. One of the best ports, hands down. The Atari St port is rougher than the Amiga around the edges, but it shares with it an honest attempt in recreating a faithful representation of the arcade in your living room. Moving on to MSX territory, well, it is difficult to really love this port. It handles well, but graphics are subpar compared to the Amiga, and animations tend to be choppy, with objects clipping with the background and disappearing in mid-air. Not the MSX finest hour. The Amstrad CPC version is okay, considering the capabilities of the machine. Sure, it's more colorful than the Spectrum, but it is slow. It handles like a tank in a swamp, and it features a molesting jump sound that The Apple II, what to say? It is primitive, but I cannot imagine a better quality from that machine. I'm actually surprised that a game like Bobble can be even implemented on the Apple II at all. Moving on to consoles, the Sega Master System. Its Bobble port is arguably one of the best games on the platform in my opinion. The Sega Saturn port is interesting. To me, it almost looks like a direct source port from the Amiga version. Sure, a good version, but really, Saturn? Could you not do better? The NES version is hands down the most popular besides the arcade. So, if you know the game, chances are this is the port you remember. Even the Sony PlayStation got a port, and I would say it is close enough to the original arcade, so good job PS1. And that's not all, as Bobble was ported to several handheld devices, such as the Game Boy and the Game Gear. Even today, if your device can run applications, chances are you can still purchase a copy of Bobble for it. The game had an enthusiastic reception in the 80s, with journalists praising its simple and addictive gameplay on magazines such as Zap 64, Your Sinclair, and Computer and Video Games. And of course, more games were made. Despite having only one properly named sequel, Bobble 2, the game is fondly remembered for giving birth to few popular spiritual successors, namely the Rainbow Island series and the Puzzle Bobble Bust-A-Move series. If you like colorful vertical scrolling platformers and, well, Puzzle Bobble, go check them out. And naturally, with a game this popular, now you cannot swing a dead pool without hitting a remake. Bobble Memories, Bobble EX, Bobble Evolution, Bobble Revolution, Bobble Double. More bubbles that you will ever need. And don't get me started on clones. So, how did this game become so incredibly popular? Well, like for many of these early games, it's all in the gameplay. Try it out and see for yourself. Bobble is incredibly simple to pick up. You walk, you jump, and you shoot bubbles. How hard can it be? However, mastering each level poses a significant challenge. Each single stage can be certainly beaten the lazy way, getting rid of monsters and ignoring fruits. But if you put the effort, you can squeeze hundreds of thousands of points from each level, and knowing all the tricks to achieve that is what sets the pro players apart. So, if you want those juicy points, you have to work for them. Another big part of the success of Bobble is the sheer quirkiness of the game. I mean, just look at bonus objects. You can eat a cross to get fire bubbles, swallow an oil lamp for rapid fire bubbling, munch on a ruby ring for extra points while jumping, and grab an umbrella to skip levels. Then you have water bubbles washing enemies down the drain and turning them into diamonds, fire bubbles for popcorn monsters, and lightning bubbles to zap enemies from afar. Reach level 20 without losing lives, and you can take the door to a bonus level chock full of diamonds. Take too long to finish a level, and all monsters will get red and angry. It's been 40 seconds and I'm not even dead yet. This can mean only one thing. War! Take even longer and the invincible Skell Monster appears, to eat your flesh and hunt your dreams forever. And then you have to spell extend for some reason and navigate through levels tagged with deep philosophical messages such as drunk. Bobble was also one of the first games to implement different endings, 3 to be precise, and I will not spoil them for you, in case you want to try them out on your own. This said, this game did not really indulge in many Easter eggs, and is not really famous for popular glitches or kill screens. I recorded most of the gameplay for this video on the Commodore 64 version, and I have to admit I was quite surprised when the machine glitched out at me. Big time! I browsed around the web and I could not find this glitch being reproduced anywhere else, so this might very well be a world premiere. I was chugging along the levels when all of a sudden, after finishing level 61, something unexpected happened. I found myself in a strange maze I've never seen before, and the level counter marked Room 105. I mean, what the hell even is Room 105? Bear in mind that the Commodore version only features the regular 100 levels. The level layout and texture was seriously garbled, but the game was still playable, so I said, yeah, let's do it. The problem is that even after finding the location of all glitched enemies, and after trying to interact with the half sprite of my brother, the level simply wouldn't end. So I patiently waited for the Skell monster to consume my flesh, hoping that the game would take me back to... No, it crashed. The machine just got reset, and that was it. I have no idea how I got there, and I couldn't reproduce the glitch ever since. Have you ever found a glitch in Bobble? What is the best glitch that you found in your favorite game? Leave me a comment. So, what else to say about Bobble? Well, it's fun, it's silly, and it's brilliant in its simplicity. If you wish to check it out, I recommend hunting down a copy of the original arcade version, or grab a disc for the Commodore 64. If you get past the silly, you will have a great time. As always, thank you very much for watching, and if you like this type of content, feel free to stick around for more. My name is Kradion, and this was Press Play on Tape.